got the Nikon Z9 and the 400 f4.5, and we're gonna photograph shorebirds. We're out here deep in the water. Should have this little island pretty much all to myself, which will be fun. Nice profile. Let's get that really low perspective. Let's see if he's gonna go into a good spot. That's clean sand right there. Look at that. Beautiful. Nice colors in the sky. Great light on the bird. So all we need is a bird to come across this right now, and we're gonna get some really interesting exposures. All right, guys, remember, just like before, we're moving in as close as we can to the shoreline. Let's play with this foam here coming in. Looks really nice. Wait for the wave. Watch the Sanderling walk with it. I'm gonna keep there he is. So we're gonna get lower. There's that sparkly, look at that. Nice. Just that one sweet window, right? That's what we wanted. Means I'm gonna have to darken it down, but look, it's all about the silhouette. All right, I can't get exposure in that mess right there, but we'll wait for him to move through. There. Let's see. Hey, good morning, everyone. Out here, got the Nikon Z9 and the 400 f4.5, and we're gonna photograph shorebirds. There's not much beach here. Normally this is a big mud flat here filled with shorebirds. Thankfully, it also pays to know your area really well, and I do know that I can actually hop in here, get in the water, and then walk all the way out. I don't know if you can see, there's a little sand, oh, actually, I guess it's over this way. There's like a sandbar over here. That's where all the birds go. We're out here deep in the water. Should have this little island pretty much all to myself, which will be fun. All right, so we're out here now, and definitely a lot of shorebirds. I see a lot of plovers. I brought this setup today, the Z9 and the 400 f4.5, because of its absolute portability. I love it for that, and decent low light. It's an f4.5, so it's not too bad with low light. So I could get out here in this early time when the light's dim and get some of these pastel colors. So that's gonna be the goal. Now, we're shooting shorebirds on a wide open beach. So pretty much every shot is gonna be trying to get as low as possible. And when I say low, I don't mean low like this. I mean camera like down in the sand here, lens as close to the sand as possible to get that really low, dreamy perspective. And you'll see through the lens when we shoot that. So let's go find some birds. The other thing I want to pay attention to right now is where the color is in the sky. I'm shooting full manual here, and we really want to get some of that color up there. So I also came over here to try and get that cleaner beach. Now, you'll notice at 400mm here, it's not bad, but I'm struggling to keep a lot of color up in the sky there. Real easy solution. We go vertical. Move our focus point down to the bottom here. Again, we're going to get this thing as low as possible. But what we really want is this bird to pop up a little bit more. I am at 160th of a second. I could bump this a little more. Let's get up to 250 and then just kick that ISO up a little bit more. So there we go, we are shooting wide open. And this is the deal, guys. All I did was pick a spot here and just settle down. I'm just nestled down, laying low here. And look at these birds. They're coming right into me here now. I'm gonna lighten the exposure a little bit more. Wait for them to pause. Hopefully. There it is, because I know I'm shooting slower. Look at these colors. Beautiful Sanderling and breeding plumage. We'll try and shoot some as he runs. So it's getting a little brighter out. So if I want to try and get them, look, I'm just going to bump up. We're going to go 3200 ISO, not too bad. And then we can get 500th of a second. Now, these guys are all walking away, so I'm not going to shoot any of those. And I just did a trick that I love doing, which is to dig a little hole in the sand here. You can see I did it right here. Just dig this down like that, and that lets you dip your camera down in there a little bit lower, especially when you're shooting vertical, and get even more of a dreamy foreground. All right, here we go. We got a plover coming in right here. Let's get him in focus. Come on, camera. There we go. Nice profile. Let's get that really low perspective. Wait for that clean shot. And also remember, some of this little stuff you can always clone out, right? Get rid of. So while we're waiting for the light to change, I wanted to talk about a couple of techniques I like to use. So right now I'm soaking wet because I walked out and the water was basically up to my neck almost. And I don't feel like laying in this sand. If I do, I'm gonna become like coated in sand. It's gonna be a big mess. And there's a really good chance I'm gonna get all of that all over my gear then when I stand up and try to move and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to stay a little bit cleaner. So you can see I'm just sort of crouched down on my knees here. But that means it's almost impossible or really difficult to get my eye in the viewfinder. So what do? I use the flip screen. So you can see I got the flip screen out here. And guys, I know it's tricky and challenging at first to get used to shooting this, but once you get good at it, and in fact, everything you just saw me shoot, I shot with this flip screen, both horizontal and vertical. I actually find it easier for the vertical too, especially. But once you get some practice with it, you can really do well, especially with shorebirds. They're not moving that fast. They're not usually flying. And so it's a thing I can't recommend enough for shorebird photography, because it allows you to get down and not get quite as messy sometimes. Also, sometimes it's like really gnarly mud and stuff like that. This is just a sandy beach, and if I was dry, honestly, I'd be laying down to be more comfortable. But like I said, because I'm soaking wet, I don't feel like getting that sand. And that's one other tip I want to give everybody with the shorebird photography is, obviously, you're going to be paying attention to keeping your gear dry and clean and relatively free from sand. But what the biggest mistake I see people I take out for shorebirds happen is they get sand all over their bodies and mud, and then they lean their camera against that, right? They stand up and go to move, and the camera goes against them like this, and then the camera is a mess. So the other thing that happens a lot is people will put their hands down in the sand and mud and then put their hands on the camera, and wet sand is a big enemy. It's a real big enemy. So dry sand, not too big a deal. You can usually brush it off. Wet sand gets in the buttons, locks them up, and completely frees up a camera. I've seen it happen many times. So that's a couple of tips there I want to give you for shooting shorebirds. Let's wait for this light. It's starting to get good. Hopefully that sun will pop out soon, and then we'll get some really nice shots. We got a decent amount of shorebirds working the shoreline over here. What's happening right now is this terrain is sloping down, okay? It's elevated sand right about here is the peak, and then it goes down towards the water. So watch this. I'm gonna walk us up here and we'll see if we can photograph one of these birds. All right, guys, I want you to see what's happening here. So because I'm shooting down this slope on this Sanderling, look what's the background. It's just these crashing waves. Now, if I'm close enough, some crashing waves a little bit behind it can be interesting, but right now I gotta say, looking at this, to me, it's just kind of visually a mess. Compare that to if we were to shoot along the shoreline. Let's say hypothetically that's a bird right there. Look at that background. It's incredibly clean. When we're shooting a shoreline like this, shooting down the slope towards the waves is often something I don't try to do. So how do we fix that? Well, we get closer to the shoreline here, as close as possible, without getting ourselves soaking wet. But let's see what happens if we swing around and shoot down the beach this way. We have, now, all these birds are a little too far away right here, but already, even shooting this bird right here, see how the background water is further away? That's the key, right? Get as close to this water edge over here on the left and shoot down the beach. That's what you want to do. I'm going to try and get even closer to the left there. All right, so now we're shooting down the beach. Already, guys, you can see how much more clean and dreamy. And look, now I can play with the foam coming in like that, right? This is definitely more fun. Get that flight shot coming towards me. Here's another great compositional technique. Let's lighten the ISO just a little bit. All those trees up top aren't that great, but look, if I compose it like this, look how clean and dreamy that is. Generally, I'm trying to compose this the way I want it for the final shot. So cropping those trees out, I'm just getting clean beach sand that's gonna lead right up to the bird. And then also notice the light. It's coming in from the left here. And so, oh, he's getting a little twitchy. If he turns this way, what I was gonna say is if he turned to the right, there was more light on him. We have a Sanderling coming in on this side here. We're starting to get some directional light on him, which is really nice. The colors in the sky in the background are really pretty. Let's wait for him to come in a little closer. I like when he faces camera left a little bit more, just because of the lighting on him, and those colors are really nice back there. But look at this, guys, he's coming right into us here. And zoom, zoom, zoom. Now he's going around us. Now we got a plover coming in. Let's see if he's gonna go into a good spot. That's clean sand right there. Look at that. beautiful. Nice colors in the sky, great light on the bird. This is looking awesome. I like the little bit of shells here. Drop that perspective. Look at that, I'm trying to get rid of that dark line. There we go. Just the bird. Got photobomb. Just the bird and these beautiful sky colors. Isn't this gorgeous, guys? We got beautiful light coming in on the bird. Oh, here we got another Sanderling coming in close again. So we'll grab some of this guy. Oh, when the wind hits him is nice. And then he's gonna run away. Always just waiting for him to turn towards me, and then that background's just a little too busy for me. This is another lovely terrain situation that I love to shoot on the beach here, and that is I'm a little bit lower than this one hill over here, and so what that means is, if you can see it in the wide shot here, there's a little bit of a hill, and I can get birds on the other side of it, and I can also hide all the water and everything back there if I go low enough. So let's look in the viewfinder now here, and you know, we can see we have this bird over there. He's against the water and the waves. The water's kind of rough. It doesn't look that great, but watch. As I drop this perspective, I know the bird goes away, right? But if we have a bird up top, look how clean we can make this scene look. Completely minimal, super clean, just real pretty. And then the sun's about to pop right now. So now we're gonna start getting some sun, and we got these darker clouds back here that have a little bit of color in it. So all we need is a bird to come across this right now, and we're gonna get some really interesting exposures. All right, guys, remember, just like before, we're moving in as close as we can to the shoreline. Let's play with this foam here coming in. Looks really nice. Wait for the wave. Watch the Sanderling walk with it. I'm gonna keep a little bit of a darker exposure so I don't overexpose that foam. Here comes more, you can see it. Look at that, isn't that fun? The problem is right now, I wanna be shooting the other way. The lighting direction is better the other way. So let's see if we have anything behind us. Yeah, it's not too bad. Look how much better the lighting is though. And I'm actually getting some light on the subjects this way. And I'm getting those really pretty sky colors. So this direction definitely seems like the better choice for shooting. So let's see if we can grab one of these gulls. It's kind of fun with the waves in the background. Oh, here comes the sun even a little bit more. Nice little peak of sun. All right, so based on this lighting, it's time to make a move. So we have a bunch of shorebirds over this direction here, including some of the larger black-bellied plovers. But what I'm gonna be trying to do here, guys, is get down just low enough to get the sparkle in the water. So you can see the sun shining on the water there. And if we can get these birds silhouetted against that, let's drop that ISO. The image is going to be dark here, but once he hits that sun, I'm going to crank that shutter speed up and then try and line him up with it. So let's see, he should peek out here in a second. There he is. So we're going to get lower. Here's that sparkly, look at that. Nice. Just that one sweet window, right? That's what we wanted. So, where does this fail? If I try to shoot the birds that are out here closer to the beach like that, see how the sparkle is just not the same, right? So I need them closer to me so I can get that distance and separation. So I'm gonna move down the beach a little bit more here. Like I said, there's some of these bigger black-bellied. They're a little bit taller, so they're gonna give me a potentially better option. Everybody's getting a little skittish. I'm gonna get lower here and start moving in with a bit more of a crawl. All right, so I was able to get in a position and line up this turnstone. Let's make those sparkles a little darker. If any of them are overexposing, it means I'm shooting too light. So something like that is decent, but notice, I'm not really getting a good shape on him, right? So let's see if we can crawl in closer. All right, close the distance a bit here. Let's try and focus on him. Looking better. Still want to get closer. And I'm also going to wait for the waves to sort of not have a dark spot there. Wait for the profile, that's key. It's a silhouette, so we definitely need a good shape. Yeah. He moved on. And this would be why. This jerk ruining everything. And this is pretty wild, guys. Look at this. Just landed right here. Nice light. I'm gonna bump the ISO up a little bit. All right, so notice those trees in the back there are kind of like some strong vertical lines. I think if I move this way a little bit, I should be able to get a cleaner background. There we go, see that? The light's getting nice. Let's see if it'll let me in closer. The only reason I'm trying to get closer is to clean up that background. Wait for the head angle, he's looking away. It's no good right now. There it is, there's that light in the eye. Wow, the sun just popped out too. Looks really, really nice. Gotta love a good split light head on stare, right? Going a little darker with that. Trying to make sure I expose for the highlight side. Plus I just like that dramatic look a little bit more. I do really like him against the dark. And we get this beautiful light on him. So here we are, frame filling, bald eagle, 400mm. Why not, right? Something tells me he's gonna go land over here again, so let's mix it up now. I think this is gonna be really interesting, guys. We have the bright sun shining in, but we got these dark clouds hanging back there. I do think that's gonna give the potential for some interesting rim light. So let's see what happens here. It's a little soft. It's not exactly as intense as I thought it would be. You can see there's a little bit of glow there, but it's not that bright. So let's try and put the sun more directly behind him. So we're gonna line it up right there. Sun directly behind him. Now we'll go up in that sky. A little bit darker on the exposure. Drop the ISO. Now we're getting a little bit more of that interesting glow. Also, let's see what this looks like vertical. If we can get some of that glow up top, right? More interesting sky. All right, so I moved closer. Just a little bit more detail on that glow. And check this out. Oh, I was gonna say, are we close enough? He was focused right there to get the sparkle in the background, right? I was gonna try and do something like that, but I think I wasn't still quite close enough. Anyway, he's moved on, which is good. Means I should be able to get some shorebirds again. We have gotten our pastel dawn colors. We've had a little bit of backlit silhouette to play with. So let's try some front light, just some nice clean front lit portraits with this sunlight, which is muted and soft and beautiful right now. And then we'll try and do some backlit shots against the sand so we get a little bit more of a glow instead of like a silhouette thing. So those are the two other lighting styles that I'd like to try in the next 15 minutes before this light gets up a little bit higher and harsher. So now moving down in here with this, the edge of the water here, because we've got these birds working the flat a little bit more, trying to feed. Oh guys, look at this. Look who just dropped in to say hello. All right, he's running. Let's get our shutter speed up. Beautiful light. Thank you, tricolored. Here comes the tri. Flying right in at us. How perfect is that? Didn't love that background, but still cool to get to see him flying, right? All right, here we go. Now there's the cleaner color. Running in, nice smooth background. I don't know what he just went for there. Something good. Yep. And away he goes. He's an active bird. We got our front lit shot. Now we're gonna swing in over here on this flock, see if we can get us some backlit stuff. All right, so I moved down on these guys bathing here. I'm really going with a dark exposure here, just to try and turn it into more of a silhouette. And I also want them to get out of that really dirty mud there. Here we go, coming into the more brighter sun, which means I'm gonna have to darken it down, but look, it's all about the silhouette. All right, I can't get exposure in that mess right there, but we'll wait for him to move through. There. Let's see. Nice. That was fun. Feisty little birds. Nice little glow on him there. Did you see that? All right, here's our last chance for some nice strong front light, but good quality light. We get this turnstone running around. So I'm just gonna try and move in just a little bit closer on this one spot here. And then as they walk across, I should have a nice vantage point. I was just gonna say, because he's closer to the water, I don't love the water texture back there, but look, if I drop down enough, I can hide most of it, then just get him. Then all I need is that person to walk out of the way. He turned away. I'm just gonna move a little bit closer to this hill. See if I can use that to help clean this up. A little bit of peak there, but again, he's down low, so we're dealing with the water. But if he walks up a little bit higher, I think we'll get that clean shot. Let's see. There it is, right there. Beautiful front lit shot. All right, sun's getting a little harsh. It's not ideal anymore, but we'll take it. It's good colors, nice vibrant colors in it. Let's try this turnstone coming across. Get him in the clean spots here. Show off those legs. It's coming closer. There we go. That was a nice close pass. So that's it, guys. That's what happens. Look, you can see I'm crouched down low here. These birds are just all sitting right over here. And then all I have to do is stay put long enough and they come right to you. That is shorebird photography. That's how it goes. That's how I do this. Here, look, we got another plover coming in. Let's see if he comes over here. There, look at that, nice and clean. Minimize that blue line. And again, the last thing I want to point out here is watch what happens on all these birds as I lift up my perspective. So I'm on my knees now, but look, see how much, look, our waves are busy. I can see all this sand in focus now. Like, all of this is just nowhere near as nice. And all I have to do is drop my perspective and look at this dreaminess right here. Look at that. Just beautiful dreaminess. My background's far away, my foreground melts away. My bird nestles right in there. Get some light in his eye, and we got the shot. That is shorebird photography. Hey, thanks so much for joining me this morning to come out and shoot with the Z9 and the 400-4.5. I had a great time. I think we got a lot of nice variety, and hopefully you got to learn some really good shorebird techniques. It's about an hour, I'd guess, after sunrise now, and the light's getting strong, so time for me to wrap it up. All right, here we go into the crashing waves. Time to swim back to shore. Oh, this part's always so funny. Stuff we do for shorebirds, right, everybody? Oh, I found the soft mud. I hope you had a great time. I sure did. See you on the next one, everybody.